Hey everybody, Roxabox90 here with day 5 and 6, technically, of Dragons of Tarkir spoilers. We got so many cards to go through, tons of mythics, tons of dragons. Let's do this. Starting off with a couple of cards that wrapped up March 5th that I missed in the last video. Descent of Dragons is 6 for a sorcery, destroy a number of target creatures. For each creature destroyed this way, it gets a 4/4 dragon with flying into play. Seems like a fun card, very commander focused. It's going to be interesting to see in decks, especially of decks like Perforos style decks that you want to blow up your own creatures as well. And it also will be a very fun multiplayer card because it will alter the board state, but it won't make people overly upset. It's very epic, very mythic. I think it's a cool card for multiplayer commander especially. Bloodshed Fanatic is a really powerful limited card, a 3/3 for 3 that acts as a sack outlet to potentially throw your targeted creatures at your opponent and you gain life for it. Seems really, really strong. It also encourages warrior focus, which will be very nice as well. In limited, there are enough warriors going on in the set as well as the block as a whole. I definitely think it's a powerhouse card, and it's a really good 3-drop on the curve. Is it good enough for constructed? Maybe. The problem is that there's still a bunch of other really good 3 drops that are in black focus that are potentially probably better than it for the kind of spot, but definitely has potential. Serious limited powerhouse. Then we have Ultimate Price, reprint, great artwork. It's a good card, great removal. Definitely great in limited, constructed, and all around awesome. Roast, interesting card. The fact that it doesn't hit flying actually matters in a set where most of the flyers are, or a lot of the flyers are under 5 or 5 or less toughness, but it is straight up good removal. Will definitely be playable, but it may end up being more of a sideboard removal card, but these kind of cards are very powerful. And we've seen other cards from this set that we just had from Fate Reforged. We had 3 for 4 damage. I forget the name of what it's called, but then we also had that heat something from M15 that also was kind of like a scalable creature targeted effect. These kind of cards are really good, especially when they're cheap, so expect to see that in limited. Shore Crasher Elemental, mythic, 3 blue for a 3/3. Tap a blue, exile it, and return it to play face down. So it does protect itself, but it has to be turned into a morph to do so. And then you can tap a colorless. It gets 1+, 1-, or 1-, 1+. On a turn, the Megamorph is for 5. So playing a 3 for a 3/3 is pretty good. Of course, the 3 blue is very, very painful. It's unlikely to be able to land it as a 3-drop unless you're doing Blue Devotion or something. And that is still very possible given that Theros is still within the standard frame. This card could definitely see some play if there's some kind of blue or blue something devotion style deck. It's a pretty decent 3-drop. I like that it flickers. I like that it can pump itself in combat. It can defend in combat. It's a very flexible card. Constructed, viable. It's going to be very annoying to deal with unlimited. That's the real thing I'm scared about. Slumguard's Command, 5 for an instant, 5 mana. Let's see, is this up to par? Choose 2, counter a non-creature spell, return a permanent, target creature gets -3/-3, or destroy a Planeswalker. Yep, this is definitely up to par. 5 mana, having the option to blow up a Planeswalker, bounce a permanent, counter a spell, or remove something. It's incredibly flexible, very, very strong card, and 5 mana. It's a little expensive, I think, for constructed. Will probably still be viable, but more of a sideboardish kind of card, I think. But definitely viable, especially in a more control style build. And unlimited, it's absolutely bonkers. Great card. Dragonlord Atarka, 7 for an 8/8. Whoa, check that out. Flying Trample, whenever it enters the battlefield, does 5 damage divided up among target creatures or Planeswalkers. So realize you can't blow your opponent out of the water with this card in terms of it landing and just dealing 5 to their face. Unlike cards, I believe Bogard and Hellkite does hit players potentially, but being able to hit Planeswalkers is a new thing. It's 7 for an 8/8 Flying Trample. Its stats are pushed. It's really powerful. It's going to be a monster to deal with in limited, monster to deal with. Is it potential for limited? Yeah, I think red-green has more than enough ramp to make this card possible, but I don't know if... It'll really depend on how slow down standard becomes for this guy, whether or not he's going to make it. But his stats are definitely there. He's definitely pushed. Cunning Breeze Dancer, 6 for a 4/4 flying. Whenever you cast non-creature spell, gets 2+2 until end of turn. Shoe-in limited card, very strong. This is actually part of a cycle. I'm just going to skip ahead to the cycle because we may as well talk about them all in progress. They all pretty much fit the theme. This non-creature spell, prowess, blue-white, boom, gets more powerful. swingy. Savage Ventmaw, 6 for a 4/4 flying. Whenever it attacks, you get 6 mana, 3/3 green, 3 red, 3 green, and you get it till end of turn, which is means it basically, as long as it's in play attacking, it replaces itself in mana every single turn it's out, which is really powerful, really cool. Ruthless Deathfang, 6 for 4 flying. Whenever you sack a creature, target opponent sacks a creature. Great flexible card, especially in Commander, being able to make certain opponents. You choose an opponent who sacrifices. If you have sacrifice outlets, which tons of decks have, very, very strong card for Commander. Wow, that's seriously good. Enduring Scale Lord, 6 for a 4/4 flying. Whenever one or more 1/1 counters is placed on another creature you control, this can get 1/1 counters. Again, feeding off of the +1/+1 Abzani style mechanic. And Swift Warkite is dash, or bolster, the way you think about it. And then Swift Warkite is a form of dash, being able to dump a creature card that can cost 3 or less from your hand or graveyard, have them attack with haste, and bounce back to your hands. Basically dash. They pretty much are the flavor of the mechanics that we saw in Fate Reforged, and of the colors. I think they're really, really cool. Skipping back down, we have Epic Confrontation, 2 for a fight effect that gives 1/2. These cards are always really strong and limited. Great pick, especially a common. Stormwing Dragon, a 6 for a 3/3 flying first strike with Megamorph. Whenever it's turn face up, put a 1/1 counter on each dragon creature you control. This seems to be some kind of cycle as well. It's a little bit weaker, I think, honestly, than even with such a powerful Megamorph. I think it's weaker than the Cunning Breeze Dancer, that cycle, but still not bad at all. Not bad. Very going to be pretty swingy and limited as well. Depends how slow. Honestly, a lot of the cards will depend how slow limited becomes, and I'd like to see once it sets a little bit more fully completed in terms of spoilers, we'll be able to make a better guesstimate at how slow the limited format will be. These cards could potentially be very normal, average kind of card to hit. Sunbringer's Touch, bolster X for 4x the number of cards in hand, and each creature with the 1/1 counter gains trample, which basically is a huge overrun effect that stays for the game. Huge, great card, very swingy and limited. It's also, I think, fantastic for Commander, where you often have 3-4 cards in hand at least, and makes your whole army bigger permanently. It's huge. Dragonlord Ajutai, 5 for a 5/4 flying. It's hexproof as long as it's untapped. We've seen this before in that Sphinx from Theros. I forget the name of it, but it's kind of the same thing. As long as it's untapped, it has hexproof, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, it's a pseudo impulse. You look at top 3, 1 goes your hand, 2 at the bottom, but doesn't shuffle your deck. It's kind of the same thing. It sorts your deck, gives you card advantage pretty much, and it's a 5/4 flying that has hexproof a lot. Very strong card, limited bomb, of course. Sarkhan Unbroken, 5 for a 4 loyalty, +1, draw a card, add 1 mana of any color. Solid, gives you card advantage, gives you mana ramp, exactly what you want. -2, 4/4 red dragon with flying, protects itself effectively with a very powerful creature. And -8, search the library for a number of dragon cards, put them into the battlefield. That's kind of for lulz. It's going to be, of course, for Dragon Tribal and Commander, fantastic. It's also going to be very strong and limited, given how many dragons there are. But anyway, Planeswalkers usually are insanely powerful in limited. This guy is a powerhouse. Is he constructed viable? I think he has potential, to be honest. There's definitely more than enough color control with the mana base to get this kind of thing going. 5 mana, Planeswalker, very reasonable. I like him a lot. I think he's very good. Collected Company, look at the top 6 cards of your library, put 2 creature cards that might cost 3 or less. Pretty solid for limited. I like that it's instant speed, so you don't really pay the penalty. It also feeds Delve, which is really good. It seems like a solid rare to me, to be honest. Savage Ventmaw, we already talked about this cycle. Pretty cool cycle. Acid Spewer Dragons, a 3/3, kind of the same thing. Flying Death Touch, and it can get 1/1 put 1/1 counters on dragons when you Megamorph it, and then it's 4/4 Flying Death Touch. Again, it's fine. It's good. I like that you can play it down as a morph, but I prefer this cycle to this so far. Hitting Dragon Slayer, 2 for a 2/1 lifelink, very solid for limited. Megamorph of 3, blows up a creature with power, 4 or greater opponent controls. Huge way dealing with dragons, going to be a sure and pick for limited. Very, very nice, very reasonably costed. Is it good enough for standard? I don't think so. I could be wrong, but limited, it's great. Then we have Anafenza's Ghost, because if you don't know, Anafenza is dead for, it seems, they tortured her for honoring her ancestors, pretty much for being a Khan who refused to bow to the dragons, it sounds like. And so she's dead, and she comes back as a spirit, 2 for a 2/2, white. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, bolster 1, which pretty much means she plus the exemplars is insane, and her plus really anything, any kind of creature heavy deck is really, really good because you constantly are able to bolster. You can bolster her, bolster anything else, and 2 for a 2/2 straight up, very reasonable. I like her a lot. I think she's really solid. Very good card. Dragonlord's Prerogative is the last spoiler. 6 for an instant as additional cost. To cast it, you may reveal a dragon card from your hand. If you reveal a dragon card, you may cast this, it can't be countered, and draw 4 cards. Huge for Commander Dragon Tribal. Pretty decent in limited as well, especially as a way to refill at instant speed. Very solid. If some kind of dragon deck becomes viable in standard, this card will probably be a 1 or 2 of, I would think, especially if the format slows down. We'll have to see how that goes and how much this set impacts into the speed of standard. Pretty decent card as things go. So overall, cards seem pretty solid. Lots of really cool cards, lots of good cards, not many bad cards, which is nice to see. So we got a lot of other stuff to talk about as well, and other videos coming right up. But if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know what you think down below in the comment section as well. Tap the like button if you're new to the channel. Check in and subscribe. As always, Roxabox90 signing out. I'll see you guys next time.